everyone, welcome back to the channel of Ecoholics. So in today's video, we will be talking about the price controls and its type. In part 1 of the video, I have talked about what are price control, why do we need them, and how does price control helps us to solve the problem posed by equilibrium in the free market sometime. So if you haven't watched that video yet, you can go and watch that video and then continue watching this video. So let's just get into the video and understand about the type of price control. So in part 1 of this video, I have already talked about the price control of two types, where I told you that one is price ceiling and the other one is known as price floor. So these were the two types of price control which we are going to discuss in today's video in detail. So let's first talk about price ceilings. So what is a price ceiling or what are price ceilings? Price ceiling is the maximum price a producer can charge for his product, for his goods or services. That is the restriction imposed on the price, over and above which a producer is not allowed to charge for the product or the service. This is being done to help the customers from getting exploited. Now we must have seen that there are some monopolies. Now when a monopoly works, what happens is they have the entire control over the market. So in this way, if they are producing if they are dealing, the monopoly is dealing in the product which is a necessity good. Now let's take a very simple example to understand this thing. Let's say there is just one company which can produce the wheat flour. Just one company can produce it. I'm just taking a hypothetical example. Now, eating chapati, eating roti is a big necessity. So if there is just one company which has a monopoly in producing wheat flour, they can charge any price as they want to, because they know people can't go to any other company as there is no other company out there in the market. Also, eating roti and chapati is the basic necessity. So whatever price we are going to keep, people will be buying us. So that's the reason they can keep charging higher prices. But if they start doing it, of course, the quantity people are going to demand will fall. So it will lead to their bad profit also. The profit will also start decreasing, but they still will be covering a good margin over their cost. But this cannot happen because the government know that, okay, eating chapati is a basic necessity. So if you are just going to one company to purchase your wheat flour, the government would know it and they would try and curb this thing. They would impose a restriction that no, you cannot charge over and above this. So especially when there are monopolies in the economy, they can charge very higher prices. But the government do not want the customers to get exploited in this process. The producers leave no chance to exploit the customer. But in order to save the customer from exploitation, for such products where the price control is very necessary, the government imposes a ceiling. The government imposes a maximum price this producer can charge. And this maximum price is known as the price ceiling. So price ceiling helps the customers by not allowing the producers to increase the price of their product over a level. So they cannot increase their price over and above the level. So it ensures affordability for consumers. Now, price ceilings are commonly applied for necessity goods because wherever the elasticity of demand is greater, which is in the case of necessity goods, there only you can exploit the customers. So price ceilings are applied wherever we consume essential goods, wherever we consume necessity goods, such as food, housing, healthcare. Of course, price ceilings are meant to benefit the customers. They help the customers. because they do not allow the producers to increase the prices. And always remember one thing: price ceilings will be effective if and only if they are imposed below the equilibrium price. So if you are imposing a maximum price, if the government has to impose a maximum price, that has to be below the level of the market price. Because if the price ceiling is over and above market price, people would be happy to purchase the good at the equilibrium price rather than at the ceiling price. Now let's understand this through an example. Why do we need the price ceiling to be below the equilibrium price and not the above? So let us say in this diagram, as you can see over here, there is this demand curve, there is this supply curve, this is the equilibrium price, which is P star. And at this, we are having quantity Q star. So if the government comes and impose price ceiling at P, so at P, this is the quantity demanded, this is quantity supplied. So we have excess supply. Yahan pe producers will be willing to supply more. But consumers have reduced their demand. You wanted to have them more of the good because you wanted the prices to come down so that they can afford the necessity goods. So instead of that, we will be imposing the price ceiling at a level lower than equilibrium price. So at this level, this is the supply, this is demand. So at the price ceiling, you will always have excess demand. You will always have excess demand, but that is okay because at least whosoever is getting the product, they are getting at a lower prices. So prices are not getting higher. Okay. So there will be excess demand, so which will eventually lead to shortage. So imposing the price ceiling for very long time can cause the problem of shortages also. And in that case, price ceiling will be of no use. All right. Now, what are the consequences of price ceiling? Like, if we impose price ceiling, what can we expect the result to be? So, as discussed in the last slide, I know if price ceilings will happen, there will be excess demand over supply, which will lead to shortage, which is a very basic concept according to law of demand. If you are reducing prices, the demand will go up and supply will come down. So there is going to be shortage of the necessity good in the market. So by imposing price ceiling, pehle at least everyone was getting the product, but now people won't be getting the product also. So, and even due to the lower prices, the suppliers might want to reduce more quantity. They do not produce up to their level, right? Allocative inefficiency is another reason. So when there is lesser price, that gives less motivation to the producers to work upon their maximum capacity. Maybe the resources, the people who were in very dire need of the product are not getting it because of shortage. Or the producer who had the capacity to satisfy the excess demand is not being able to do that because of the lower prices. So inefficiency comes into the system. Also, whenever there are shortages, that is the place where black markets start taking birth. So if there comes a shortage of any product, the black market system gets activated. The people who are not getting the stock, who are out of stock, they start purchasing it from the black market by paying higher prices even than equilibrium. So it even led to a very bad situation than before. So that is another consequence. Also, when a producer has to supply the goods at lower prices, they tend to reduce their quality. Now, if you are a producer, you are producing something at 10 rupees, but now the government is forcing you to produce it at 7 rupees. You can't supply the same amount of quantity. It's quality. So quality is going to suffer as a result of price ceiling. Now, there are some very good words given by Thomas Sowell. So they had to say that price control almost invariably produce black market, where prices are not only higher than legally permitted prices, but also higher than they would be in a free market, since the legal risk must also be compensated. So what eventually happens is, this is supply, this is demand, this was equilibrium price, let's say 10 rupees. Now, due to price ceiling at 8 rupees, the quantity demanded is higher than supply. So there comes a black market. They will start selling the same product at maybe, let's say, 14 rupees. The reason why they are charging 14, because they are giving you the product which is unavailable in the market. Also, they are taking a risk. So they charge you for the product or service, plus as well as the legal risk they are taking to supply it illegally. So that is why they charge higher prices. So price ceiling sometimes even break the flow of the market as well. Now let's get to know about price floor. So what are price floors? So price floor, as the word floor means the lower limit. Lower limit means the minimum price you have to pay. The minimum price a customer has to pay. Now what happens? You all must have heard the word MSP, which is given to farmers for their product. Because farmers have to get the money by selling off their produce. Sometimes what happens is the outer market start exploiting farmers. They do not take their produce. Now, because they have to get rid of that, they need to, produce another crop, another product. So they try and sell it off at lower prices. To save the farmers from exploitation, the government of India took the initiative of MSP, minimum support price. They have quoted some prices which are the minimum level, and anybody producing the products from farmers have to pay this minimum price. So this happens in the case whenever there is a market which is ready to exploit the producer. So whenever we have to save the producers from exploitation, price floor come into the picture. So price floor what does it do? It imposes a minimum price that has to be given. Now, of course, you can give price over and above that as well, but that is the minimum you will be getting. So even the producers are aware of their right, so they do not accept the offers below this minimum price. So price floors set a legal minimum price that buyers are required to pay for a product or service. They are often used to ensure a minimum income for producers or workers in industries like agriculture or labor. So this price floor is required wherever we have informal market structure. So when it comes to laborers, they are always given lesser wages than what is required to them. That is why the government has imposed that this is the minimum wage you need to give to a person working with you. Also, many times price floors are used for producers as well as for workers to get the minimum price for their services they are providing to the producer. For example, there is a very common example, minimum wage laws. That they are a prominent example of price floor intended to prevent exploitation of low-income workers. So price floor because the price is going to be the price at which you are supplying, that is the minimum price you are doing, right? So at the price floor, you will be having more supply than demand. Now let us say there was a factory who was hiring people for 100 rupees a day. Now government came and said that no, you need to pay 120 rupees per day. So what will eventually happen in that case? 120 pay, supply of workers will increase, more people will be willing to work, but since the wages have increased, the demand for workers will come down. So at the price floor, supply is always greater than demand, and it means there is always a surplus in the supply side. One thing to keep in mind is that price floors are effective if and only if they are imposed above the equilibrium price. Now, what is the reason? Why are price floors only effective when they are imposed above equilibrium price? Let us see that. So here in the example again, you can see a demand curve and a supply curve. So equilibrium is attained here. at P star and Q star. Now let us say you impose a price floor below equilibrium price. Below equilibrium price. Now what will happen? This is your demand curve, this is your supply. This was your equilibrium price. Now you are keeping the price floor below this. Let us say this is the price floor you are keeping, P1. What is happening? Here, the supply is less than demand. The supply is less than the demand. But why were you imposing price floor? What was the prime objective of having a price floor? That was to done so that you do not exploit producers. But by keeping a price floor below the equilibrium price, you have even extracted the suppliers out of the market. So that has gone in the wrong direction, which means that a price floor below equilibrium price is not effective at all, right? Which will again lead to the shortage in the market. So we need to keep the price floor above the equilibrium price where supply is greater than demand so that the people can be given their rights. That's the reason. Now, what are the consequences of price floor? What are the consequences? What do you think will be those? First, we have seen is that price floor means we are charging a minimum price due to which supply is greater than demand. And hence, we always have surplus. Surplus looks good, but also they have their own disadvantages. A higher amount of surplus might also demotivate the producer to cut on their production, which totally disturbs the efficiency and the growth of the entire economy. Allocative inefficiency also sets into the system. Why? Because the suppliers, whenever there is price floor, the suppliers might produce more of the goods than consumers are willing to buy, as we have discussed. The producers are getting higher prices for their product, so they will be producing more. But eventually what will happen is they will have unwanted inventory with them and then they will cut down the production. Quality pressure is also there. Suppliers might reduce the quality of the goods to cut cost and still meet the minimum price requirement, which basically means is that when you have to give that, okay, for example, there is a producer, okay, they will be getting this price. That's the minimum price you're going to give them. Now that minimum price pay, what they want is they reduce the quality of the goods. Why? Because in that case, they will cut their cost. They will cut their cost and eventually will gain more. Consumer surplus also reduces because higher price always leads to lower consumer surplus. Potential inefficiency. So some resources might be allocated to producing goods that are subject to price floor, even if they could be better utilized somewhere else. So due to that minimum price working there, what eventually happens is that we put the resources into the production of those products. So what basically happens is wherever you're getting higher prices, you would want to put your resources into that place. So due to this reason, the production of other goods suffers. The resources are transferred from there to some of the specific particular goods only. So this was about all the consequences of the price flow. So let us see some of the real world examples. So as on the screen, you can see some of the news headlines where we will be seeing the price ceiling or the price floor. So in this, domestic gas price for the May set at $8.27, consumers will continue paying ceiling price of $6.5. Government likely to set a minimum export price for basmati rice, sources say. So this is all about the price control and its type. I hope you will find this video useful. If you like it, please subscribe to our channel, share it among your friends, and keep watching Ecoholics. Thank you, everyone.